While turnaround management should always be a collaborative process rather than a battle, the strategies found in Sun Tzu's book, The Art of War, offer invaluable insights for aspiring turnaround practitioners. The strategies that will be highlighted in this session can help you navigate the complex battlefield where you often find yourself as a referee between business debtors, creditors, and even the directors themselves. Your host for the session is Pattinson, a professional turnaround practitioner with a success rate of more than 95% for all business rescue plans published to date. Pat specializes in the compliant and ethical rehabilitation of distressed businesses towards an outcome of saving businesses, saving jobs, and providing the best possible outcome to all affected persons.
The Art of War, not the oldest known military strategy reduced to writing, but by far the best known. Art of War is obviously written by a gentleman by the name of Sun Tzu, was a warrior around 490 BC. Older works are, of course, from King, let's get the name right, Hammurabi of Lagash, dating back to 2,600 years BCE. Obviously, this is before the birth of Christ, so it works backwards, making it at least 2,000 years older than the writing of Sun Tzu. Another very well-known author of strategies, war strategists, was King Hammurabi of Babylon, who wrote his strategy around 1750 BCE. King Hammurabi, coincidentally, is also the author of the oldest writings on ethics and ethical decision-making. I think that was done about 400 years before the event at Mount Sinai, where the Ten Commandments was passed down. What makes the writings of Sun Tzu so applicable to that of turnaround management and business rescue is that most strategies in military, in warfare that are known is how to destroy, how to circumvent, how to attack, and how to maximize the damage inflicted on the opponent. Where the writings of Sun Tzu took a much calmer approach, a more strategical approach, where it is the outcome, desired outcome, is to win the war with as little as possible conflict. The original writing of Sun Tzu, which coincidentally is very, very difficult to read, consists of 13 chapters. Obviously, through the ages, many authors have taken it, they have converted it to a better reading to English, other languages. They've applied it for different strategies, boardrooms, businesses, mergers, acquisitions, a lot. So for today, I'm going to only use one of those chapters. These chapters are about the concepts of the art of war to minimize the conflict that is available or that is possible in a business rescue scenario. So although we generally talk about turnaround management, this morning we're going to concentrate more on business rescue. Main reason for that is it is a topic that I know best. When we go through the 10 concepts, know yourself and your enemy, strategic flexibility, preparation, planning, deception, economies of force, speed and timing, use of terrain, leadership, morale and unity, and to avoid prolonged conflict. The first one is coincidentally also the most difficult in a business rescue scenario. The simple reason for that is that as a business rescue practitioner, you honestly never know who your enemy is going to be. If we look at Chapter 6 of the Companies Act, there is a clear obligation on the practitioner to communicate with all stakeholders. These are, of course, your creditors, the staff of the company, the directors of the business, and even the shareholders. And it often happens that when you are contracted by a board of directors as the business rescue practitioner, and I use the word contracted here clearly to differentiate between that of an engagement and that of employment. A practitioner is not employed by the company, it's not employed by the directors. Specifically, if we look at Section 7K, the duties of a director is in terms of 129 to appoint a business rescue practitioner should the company be in financial distress. It is not really an option. There are options available, but For argument's sake, in this particular scenario, company had to go into business rescue. The board of directors then picked the business rescue practitioner. That business rescue practitioner, again, is limited to the provisions of Section 7K, where he must look after the best interest of all of the affected persons. So, in fact, the company is his client, not a natural person, but the juristic entity of a company is his client, and he is then bound to look after all of the affected persons. In a lot of scenarios, we've seen where the very board of directors that have engaged with a particular business rescue practitioner, it is that same board of directors then take actions to try and have that business rescue practitioner removed for various reasons, which we're not going to discuss today. Logically thinking, you would say that, okay, that makes the board of directors the enemies. But in order for them to be the enemy, surely the creditors are then in support of the business rescue practitioner. Coincidentally, more often than not, the creditors do oppose the removal of the practitioner. But strangely enough, it does not necessarily mean that they support for the business rescue plan that that practitioner has produced. In fact, they might vote against it. We could then again logically assume that the directors and the creditors are the enemy, and we can look at the staff or possibly even the general public to see who is then not the enemy but your allies. Unfortunately, more often than not, again, the general public out there, probably fueled by the media, is also opposed to the practitioners. And very seldom does the practitioner actually have the opportunity to defend his business rescue plan. He is faced with defending himself and what and how he has handled himself in the business rescue process without anybody really knowing the processes that that practitioner have gone through to that point in time. So the juxtaposed position of a practitioner is the very people that contracted you can try and have you removed, but 2 minutes after the court case or 2 minutes before the court case, you sit in a boardroom and you try and discuss the best way to look after the creditors of the business and the staff. So your enemy is, in fact, also your friend and your ally when it comes to business rescue. And it's up to the business rescue practitioner to guide that very treacherous road to success. So know yourself is the only thing you can really look at when we look at point one of the art of war. It is how you handle yourself in these very, very difficult situations. Strategic flexibility. In business rescue, everything changes. The information that you are provided at the onset of a business rescue process is normally not the same information that you will exit, that will be used to write your business rescue plan. They change all of the time. A practitioner might commit at the beginning of a business rescue process to save certain jobs, to save certain parts of the business, to retain the services of the CEOs and the board of directors. But as information comes forward, that may change. And it is the duty of the business rescue practitioner to not just be flexible in this environment, but to adequately communicate these changes and the purposes behind them to everybody that they can understand where it is. However, you must be flexible. There's an old saying that I'm quite fond of from Heraclitus, that no man can step into the same river twice, for he's no longer the same man, and it's no longer the same river. What that simply means is the information that you started is not the information you're going to be finished with. You have to be in a position to change by a tip of the toe in the cold water. Strategic flexibility, vital. Preparation and planning. Again, Chapter 6 makes preparation and planning somewhat complicated. A business rescue practitioner may not be appointed to a company that's known to him. Again, if we look at the Companies Act, prior knowledge, everything else, Section 138 of the Companies Act states that the practitioner may not have any prior knowledge. But the preparation and the planning here are in two parts. The first part is that experience that the practitioner brings to the table. He must have done a couple of business rescues, turnarounds. He must have some experience, a team behind him at least that have got this experience to know what's going to come up and plan for those eventualities. The second part is, of course, the moment you are appointed, you start investigating the affairs of the business and then start planning for your business rescue plan, which is the ultimate swan song of business rescue, other than, of course, the vote on that plan and substantial implementation. So preparation and planning is not limited to what happens before or limited to what happens during. It's a combination of the two. Now, the next one we're looking at, number 4, is, of course, deception. Deception is a very, very unwanted option. No one wants to be deceived in the business rescue process. In fact, you need to be open and transparent. There can be no deception. There can be no trickery. There can be no creative thinking during a process of business rescue. But please be cognitive that deception is not the same as confidentiality. Every business in business rescue have a right to its own confidentiality. It's going to continue trading into the future. It needs to protect its own intellectual property. The fallacy of perfection quite clearly states that if you are asked questions, you don't need to be in a position to answer everything. You can come back with a commitment, but also you don't have to answer it. If it's not something you want to share, then tell that to the creditors. This is not information that you are entitled to. But again, deception is not the same as confidentiality. The next point that we are looking at is economies of force. Now, economy of force, of course, in a traditional battlefield where you must have more soldiers on your side, more collaborators on your side than the enemy, and often that is enough to deter them from an actual combat. Business rescue, again, slightly different. Let's change the economies of force and rather call it economies of support. The Companies Act, again, makes it very clear that a practitioner must engage with all of the affected persons, creditors, staff, directors, even the public. And it is through that communication, it's through that negotiations, those are the opportunities where the practitioner is in a position to listen to what these individuals have to say, what these companies have to say, and try and get their support by providing them what they are looking for. Again, it is never going to be a situation where everybody's equally happy. The best you can ask for is a situation where everybody is equally unhappy. Compromises will be there, payment plans will be there, retrenchments might be there. But a proper practitioner can gather the support that he is needed in order to provide the creditors, the affected persons, with the best possible outcomes as per the requirement of Chapter 6 of the Companies Act. The next one is, of course, speed and timing. Speed and timing is vital. Companies Act is full of timelines that must be adhered to. And as I always say, that a business rescue plan that works now, a business rescue plan that's published within the first 25 days could be the perfect plan. But if there are delays, extensions, communications, and that plan is then voted on 3 months down the line, the chances of that plan still being applicable is highly, highly unlikely. If we can look at Bearden's as paradox, and we're having to navigate the trolley chasing down to the split lanes, and we have got Schrodinger's cat on board the train. That is really where speed and timing comes in for a business rescue plan. You don't have time to waste. But I'll come back to that paradox a little bit later in the presentation if we have time. Ladies and gentlemen, then we move on to the terrain. Again, the art of war have got a different view than what is necessary in business rescue. The benefit for knowing the terrain better than the enemy in the case of a war is that you can use the terrain to your advantage. You can use the land, you can hide your archers in the trees, your military behind the bunkers, you can have dug your ditches. But when it comes to business rescue, it's vitally important for everybody involved, those that are going to vote, your enemies, anybody, to actually know the tricky landscape of business rescue, to know the parameters, to know what is legally permitted and legally not permitted. In my business rescue, it's often those that don't understand the process and that have got their own ideas, fueled by attorneys who also don't know the process. Even in the last week, I had an attorney come to me and says, no, my client's not going to take part of the business rescue process. We will pursue the debt of the company after business rescue has completed. That's, of course, not possible. That's not how the Companies Act works. So yes, terrain is vital, but it is for you to share the knowledge, to share what's necessary, and to share the laws around business rescue and make sure that everybody understands the landscape of business rescue, especially in a South African concept. Leadership, it might sound strange, but a business rescue practitioner must be a different kind of a leader. Yes, he must be authoritative. He must be able to put his stamp down. He must make sure that people know he is in charge. But if we actually look at it, if you really need to consistently tell people you are in charge, are you really in charge? Business rescue practitioner, through his own credibility, through the history, through references, he must lead in a way that the rest of the creditors are going to trust him, the staff is going to trust him, and they're going to want to follow him. And please understand that leadership and trust has nothing to do with being liked. Trust me, I know from personal experience, it's not that important to be liked. But if the people trust you, you are 90% of the way there. Morale and unity. Ladies and gentlemen, no company going into business rescue that have got staff can expect that staff to be hungry for work, to come to work energized. These are the people that came to work every day, that did their part. They're not necessarily part of what has happened to the company. It's understandable that they're going to be demotivated. It's understandable that they're going to be looking for other work to secure the future for them and their families. It is up to the practitioner to make sure that he gets the best out of these people without any unreasonable expectations. Please, also, this is not the time for your hoorah, team building exercises. It's going to be counterproductive. What you need is transparency. You need to communicate clearly and openly with everybody. Do not be shy for them to record you. If things change, go back and tell them that. And most of all, be empathetic to the situation. Understandably, the practitioner is not the one that's part of the creation, is not the one that has caused the problem. You are there to fix it. And the aggression from the staff is often towards the practitioner who's trying to help them, where we come back to the juxtaposed position as to who is on your side, who's not, who's the enemy, who's the ally. You need to get the support of those staff, of all of the affected persons, through empathy and communication, not force. Force is not going to help you in business rescue. Avoiding prolonged conflict. Now, earlier on, I rather discussed the paradox of Bearden's as navigating the trolley as it speeds down the track, whether a decision needs to be made to go left or right, and you've got Schrodinger's cat on board. So for my own personal entertainment, let me clarify that for everybody. Bearden's as no part of an anatomy, it refers to a donkey. And the very basic concept is that if you have a donkey that is hungry and is in a field and a couple of meters away, you put down a bale of hay, the donkey will immediately start walking towards that because he's hungry. However, should you put a second bale of hay an exact equal distance away from the donkey as the first, in some instances, the donkeys become so indecisive that they will rather die of hunger than pursue any one of these two options, which of course is a dialectic debate where both sides are correct, but it's that delay in the decision making that is going to cause the conflict. Similarly, there's the old trolley problem. It is explained that you as a trolley driver must make the decision. If you stay on the track you are, there are 5 workers on the track that could be killed. If you change lanes to a different director, there's one person on the track, but it's someone you know. And you need to make the decision, which way are you going to go? Then we put the pressure of Bearden's as on there, where you are now pushed for time to make that decision so much quicker. Then I would like to complicate it even more and talk about Schrodinger's cat. Now, of course, Schrodinger's cat is a little bit different from what we've all heard on the Big Bang Theory, but let's build on that and keep it simple. Schrodinger was a theoretical physicist who wanted to prove that quantum waves can act in 2 different manners at the same time. And he explained it to his colleagues theoretically. It's not known if he actually ever did it, but if you place a cat inside a wooden box with a vial of poison, is the cat alive or is it dead? In most instances, it could be argued both points. And when we look at subjective morality, no one can actually argue that the other person is wrong or the other person is right. You can motivate your points. But for right there, the business rescue plan published in the first 25 days, that's the business rescue plan inside that box. That's Schrodinger's cat. Argument is it could be work, it could not work. And that's why the vote is there. However, reductum ad absurdum forces us to accept that If the cat is left in that box for 6 months, anybody that would think that the cat is still alive, that argument is then reduced to absurdity, which is reductum ad absurdum. So you have to make decisions fast. You have to make the right decisions most of the time. But it's only logical that you, because of the speed and the urgency and the very nature of business rescue, that a practitioner is not always going to be 100% correct. But you need to avoid the length of the process. You need to do it as quickly and as ethically as possible. Do what you believe is right. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our chat for this morning. I want to thank you all very much for joining us, and I hope to see you again shortly.
The views expressed in these episodes are solely those of the presenters and are based on their personal experiences. They do not necessarily represent the views or opinions of any professional associations or organizations with which the presenters may be affiliated. The content of these episodes is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal, accounting, or any other professional advice. Viewers are encouraged to seek advice from qualified professionals regarding their specific circumstances.
Thank you for watching with us. If you enjoyed today's episode, please remember to like, subscribe, and follow us for more. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, then also just a big thanks to our sponsor. I should have done this earlier. My apologies. Mr. David Masterton from BR360.
Hi, I'm David Masterton, Director of BR360. BR360 is a company that specializes in business rescue. That is why we wanted to team up with Pat and sponsor these episodes. These episodes provide insights not often spoken about. We look forward to future episodes and engaging with you, the viewer. Hope you enjoy Pat's insights and find it useful. Please feel free to contact us.